Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be talking about removing parasites. I made a video like this about 7 years ago, and I think it was 2 summers ago it was removed. So we are going to update the protocol, which is vastly superior now to what I was doing back then anyways. So here we go. I was having some chronic low back pain, irritability, skin issues, all kinds of problems again a few months ago. I went to see my chiropractor and he uses muscle testing. Phenomenal doctor, person, human. And he said, "Oh, you have parasites." And then he said, he muscle tested me for if they were intestinal, if they were in the blood, if they were in the brain, and he said that they were all three. So I've heard of this. I've only ever gone after the intestinal parasites, and so I decided that I would try to go a little deeper. And so I bought this Cilantro heavy metal detox because wherever there are parasites, there are heavy metals, or vice versa. I do believe that these parasites, these ropeworms and things, are feeding on these heavy metals and other things in our bodies that shouldn't be there. They're actually, in a way, helping us. But it's when it gets to the overgrowth side of things that, or too many heavy metals or whatnot, that we can have some problems. So I also got some wormwood, which is known for killing parasites, and I did take some pine tree resin, which I have taken in the past, and that's what my other video was about that was removed. And sure enough, probably this long, after 3 days of lemon water fasting and taking this heavy metal detox and the pine tree resin, a parasite ropeworm came out about this long. And I thought, oh yeah, I did have parasites, okay. And then I went back to my regular routine. Well, that didn't do much. The symptoms didn't go away. So fast forward to about a month ago, I decided to go and get a colonic, which I've never done. I've done hundreds and hundreds of enemas, but I've never done a colonic. And so I was on the table having this procedure done, and the woman was very informative, very knowledgeable, and she said, "Oh, you probably have mold." When I was telling her about the issues I was experiencing and like how many years I've been detoxing and changing my diet and just doing all these things, I'm still having pain. I'm still having all these skin issues. I'm still having all these problems. And she said, "Oh, you probably have mold. What you need is zeolite, and to take some herbs from this woman whose website I will link below. And she goes by God's Herbs Heal. So that's the name of the website. And so that night I went onto her website and I bought a protocol that I kind of made. She's got like packages you can buy of specific protocols for different things. And I just kind of tailor-made my own because I know what I need after all these years of experimenting. I know the things that I'm dealing with. And so I just want to go over the protocol that I used and what worked for me over this 10-day period. And then I will link her website and anything else that I talk about. I have ebooks that I've written on specific things that I'll mention throughout this video. So might want to grab a pen and paper just to kind of take notes for yourself and write down the things, if as I mention things that you're like, yes, that's something that I'm dealing with. Okay. So let's talk about her herbs first. She has many different protocols, like I said, and the ones that I bought were for mold, parasites, and like herpes virus, you know, the strain that like most people have. So viruses, anything like that. And so there were 3 different bottles that I bought. One is called Detox. One is called Ivermectin. So it's like ivermectin, which they use to help clear up COVID and things. And so that's really interesting. Like this woman has an inside. She's very smart. And then the other one was for mold. So I got 3 different herbs from her. And then she also recommends zeolite, which zeolite is this, comes in a powder form like this, and it can cross the blood-brain barrier. And so it basically, when you take these herbs and anything starts to die off, you take the zeolite powder with it, and it can help to transport those things out of the body, which is very important, that you're not just killing this stuff and then it's just sitting in there. So it's all about elimination at the end of the day. You can sit in a sauna, you can take all these herbs, you can take pine tree resin, you can do all these things, but if you're still full of waste material, you're not doing enemas, you know, you're not fasting and things like that, like all this stuff is just going to sit in you and you're going to feel really icky. So no good there. And then I did continue to take the Cilantro heavy metal detox, and I'm going to go over the schedule with all this. And I paired that with Stone Breaker, which is Chanca which is a South American herb used for softening kidney and liver gallbladder stones. And I also paired that with a lymphatic herbal blend and a kidney tonic, which I got from Natural Grocer. So these were just things I picked up at the health food store. So then I was also taking the distilled pine tree resin, which is also for parasites and Candida. And so I just want to go over really quickly what I was doing is every morning I would wake up and I would take her herbs with the zeolite powder. And then a few hours later, I would take the heavy metal with the Stone Breaker and the ones that I picked up from the store. I would take those to kind of get my lymph system moving, anything that was killed in that first round of herbs that I took. So then I would take the lymphatic stuff to get the stuff moving out. And then around dinner time, I would take her herbs again with the zeolite powder. And then I was also doing what I call a psyllium husk pudding at nighttime, so that the next day when I would do my enemas, all of it would get pushed out in one huge load. So as for how I was nourishing myself to maintain this for 10 days, because I don't think I could have went that long with how I was feeling, because it is quite a bit of die-off. I had to have some nutrition to carry me through this whole thing. And so it's really interesting and synchronistic how all of this came about. But when you're really on a path and you're like a high initiate level person, and you're really trying to ascend, and you're really trying to heal, cleanse and purify and alchemize, you know, like it's, God will bring these things together for you. And I find it so interesting that it was called God's Herbs Heal anyway. And so what happened was I came across a company from Taiwan they have products called Zen Cleanz. And I went ahead and invested in their fermented beverages. So this one is called Ambrosia, and it's quite sweet. If I was to do this protocol again, I would probably just get the chia, it's called chi. I was thinking of like chia seeds or something, but it's just called chi, and that one has much less sugar content. So this one had quite a bit of fruit and things in it. But not only was I trying to get rid of the Candida and the parasites, but and the mold and everything, but I was also trying to reset my gut bacteria so that I could properly digest food for when I went back to eating again. Because I was having issues with constipation, which was causing the low back problems. And yes, parasites can cause constipation and those things, but pretty much everybody has really messed up gut bacteria anyway. And so this is what my intention was to reset my gut bacteria with these fermented beverages. And so these foods have been fermented for 3 years and they are so tasty. Basically, you heat up water and it's a concentrate. And so you only use like 25 milliliters and you warm it up with some water. I just have an electric kettle. It's very handy for doing enemas, for, warming up water like this. It's very quick. You don't have to use the stove. And so basically I made cucumber water with ginger, turmeric, lemon, grapefruit, an apple, and some cucumbers. And then I would dilute it with water, with distilled water, which I have a countertop distiller. And then I would also add aloe vera juice to that. And I didn't want to drink anything cold. I wanted everything to be at least room temp or warm. And so I would keep the juice in the fridge, and I didn't dilute it very much with water because I knew I would be adding some hot water to it to make it more room temp. So my body would be able to absorb it better. And so what I was doing is every morning I would wake up and I would have the warmed up juice that I made, and I would mix that with the herbs. And you can find the protocol of how many drops to use. I went up to 33 drops per bottle. And so I was doing 99 drops for my morning drink with 1.5 teaspoons of zeolite. So that's how much I was putting into that morning drink. I would drink that all, make sure it got all in my system, for about 20 minutes. And then I would heat up more water and I would mix that with the fermented drink with the ambrosia or the chi or whichever one you get. Or if you're not going to do it, you can skip this part entirely, but this is just what I did because I wanted the nutrition. I wanted to reset my gut bacteria, and I also wanted the nutrition. So then I would have that drink with the fermented beverage, and then I would fast until about noon. So this was about 6 o'clock when I was doing all this, and then I would fast until about noon. And then I would take the Cilantro Heavy Metal Detox with the lymphatic blend with the kidney, with the Stone Breaker, and I would take all those together with more of the cucumber water. And then I would fast again until dinner time, which is when I would repeat that first morning drink. Now, at any time during the day, if I was feeling really heavy die-off symptoms, I would take more zeolite because I'm telling you, I will never do a cleanse again in my life without the zeolite powder. I have never experienced such quick relief from die-off symptoms as I did. It's about 15-20 minutes and I'm back to normal. So that was really exciting to find that out. Also, what I mean by fast is I'm just not having anything with calories or anything like that. And so I would drink water in between. I do drink distilled water, and I add this ReMag Magnesium. And this stuff's really great because you can take high doses of it and it doesn't give you any of that like diarrhea feeling that magnesium usually does. And then I also was adding keto drops to it just to get some potassium and sodium because you really don't want to get too messed up on your electrolytes doing a lot of enemas and fasting and stuff. So that's basically what I would do for the first day or two before I start introducing the Psyllium Husk pudding and the enemas, because you're still eliminating, fecal matter. So you're not quite empty yet. There's still things that are, pushing themselves out on their own. But once your system is completely empty and you start accumulating the waste from these herbs killing these parasites, it's going to be really hard to push that out just by drinking fluids like we are here. So that's when I would start having the Psyllium Husk pudding. And so what I do for this, actually this was really awesome because I've never done this before, is I would make that 250 milliliter drink with the ambrosia or whichever flavor you have. And I would make that warm water and I would mix it with 2 to 3 tablespoons of the Psyllium Husk. And then I would also mix in some fresh lemon juice and a tablespoon of this activated charcoal. And so You want to make this a couple, 3 hours before you have it, because you want to put it in the fridge and give it time to gel. So that would kind of be after I would have all of my drinks throughout the day. That's what I would have before I would go to bed. Eat all that pudding. And it's interesting when you're having the fermented beverages that you don't really have hunger. And so you would think, oh, this is going to be great. I can't wait to have pudding. It's pudding time. And then it's like, oh, this is really hard to eat. Actually, I'm not hungry at all. Like, I just am having a tough time getting this down. But you really want to use it because it's going to give you that bulk and that sweep of your entire intestine, like your small intestine, large intestine, everything. And anything that died overnight while you were sleeping is going to get pushed out like a broom with that next day enema. And so what I would do is I would have the pudding, I would go to sleep, I would wake up in the morning and have that first drink with the herbs. And then I would have that second drink with the fermented beverage. And then I would start doing a high volume lemon, I think I was doing sea salt. Yeah, I was doing a sea salt enema. So I was doing about 1 to 1.5 liters of water in my enema bucket, which if you're not familiar with an enema bucket, it's just a stainless steel bucket you can buy on Amazon. You just put the water in and it feeds through the tube here. It's not too complicated. I am going to be writing an ebook on the instructions on that. I used to have a video online, but I took all my videos down after they removed that one video. So I don't know if I was throwing a tantrum or what, but I just took everything down. So I might do an ebook on that, just to kind of show how that setup looks like, because definitely this cleanse is for people who are pretty experienced. And so I don't want to get too much into the details of that. So I would do the sea salt enema to clear everything out and to get the majority of the psyllium out. And you will see worms coming out with that if you have a high load of ropeworms. It will look like your intestinal tract, like that's how the shape is, but it's actually worms are inside of that pudding, because when you get towards the end of this cleanse, you will notice that the pudding is coming out just like clumps of gel of pudding, of how it looked when it went in. But while there are worms inside of it coming out, you will see very long strands that kind of mimic the shape of your intestinal tract, and those are actually the parasites coming out. I do have a picture I wanted to share of what they look like. If you don't want to see this, then I would look away from the screen momentarily. These were without the psyllium, so you can see what they actually look like. And then if you could imagine, I don't have any pictures of them wrapped inside of the psyllium pudding. But if you could imagine them anyways. So I'm going to show, and so if you don't want to see, look away, but these are what they look like. The one on the bottom corner is over 30 inches long, and it actually did break apart. So it was longer than that even. And I don't know if it's in focus or not. Let me see. I can't tell, but they do look somewhat like a braid. And depending on what stage, how long they've been in there, they do change color. So the very, very old ones will have a very dark brown to black color, and they will smell extremely foul. And then the ones that are more new will be more translucent, and they'll be much shorter and like slimier, and they will not have that braided look to them. So that's another thing that I wanted to talk about, was the smell of this stuff and how you can know that you're making progress. On day 3 of this cleanse, I started to get a really disgusting smell coming from my throat. And it didn't matter if I used peroxide to rinse my mouth or brush my teeth or floss. I'm not eating, and so it's not from food. It's not, could it be from the ambrosia? Highly doubtful. This smell is, I don't even know how to describe it. It is just the foulest smelling death smell. And then when you do those enemas and these ropeworms start coming out, it's the same smell. So you know that that's what it is. And by day 10, I would say if the smell was 100, it was down to about 20 by the time I finished this cleanse. I had to get going back to work. And so 10 days was enough for me. My back pain completely went away. My skin completely healed. My depression or just overall like blah feeling was pretty much gone, except for the fact that like I need to get back to work and, I need to be making some money and doing that because that's always stressful when you get behind in your bills and stuff. But sometimes, it's like you got to do what you got to do to clean out your body. And sometimes that's more important. Getting back to the enemas, I would do that sea salt water enema, and a lot of the psyllium and the worms would come out. And then I would follow that up with a coffee enema, which I actually quit doing a long time ago because I didn't like the idea of putting moldy, fungus-filled coffee in my body. And I wasn't drinking it anymore, and I wasn't using it for enemas anymore. And then, synchronistically, I came across, I had no idea this existed, and I've been doing cleanses for years, but this is from the Garrison Therapy, and it's called Pure Life Enema Coffee. You can get it on Amazon. And it is lab tested, mold, fungus, and mycotoxin free. So I really do like drinking coffee. I have about 2 to 3 teaspoons of French press in the morning. And I do have that with a little bit of coconut cream. And I did forget to mention that would be my third beverage in the morning, is sometimes I would like to have coffee with coconut cream. I really feel like the cream, the fat, helped me to sustain a little bit longer, to go more days. So that fat, was kind of helping me to just go a little bit longer. I probably couldn't have gone 10 days without having some of that heavy cream like that. I don't mean dairy heavy cream. I just mean the dense, high calorie coconut cream. So I like to do the high volume sea salt water enema first to clear everything out. And then I do the coffee enema following that, and I hold that for about 30 minutes because it's communicating with the liver during that time. And it's basically signaling it to dump all of its bile. So bile can be reused up to 10 times by the digestive system. And so if you have a very dirty digestive system, then you're going to be recycling that bile over and over again, and it's not really beneficial to your system. And so this coffee enema forces your gallbladder to dump all of the bile out and make new. And while it's dumping all that bile out, it's also removing the rest of the parasites and pudding and everything else that high volume water enema couldn't reach. Okay. So coffee enemas, very important. They use them during the war. If somebody had a wound, they were in a lot of pain, they would use these for pain elimination also. So that's very interesting. So that was kind of what I was doing in the morning. And then after I would have, while I was doing that coffee enema, I would take castor oil or coconut oil or whatever I had, and I would put quite a bit of the pine tree resin in that oil, and I would just keep it on the chair where all my setup was. And I would do an abdominal massage to help move and get that bile flowing and just help move everything down. And so just doing that abdominal massage and just really getting in there with some of that pine tree resin topically So not only was I taking it internally, and you know, the amount that I was taking in my ebook, I recommend taking a 1/4 teaspoon, and I was taking about 7 to 13 drops every day of this, and I think that that's more sustainable than taking a huge dose at once, just one time. I do like taking about half of that amount every day, and I found that it was quite tolerable, especially using that zeolite powder. It's just unreal how fast that works for taking care of those die-off symptoms. What else was I doing? I was doing dry skin brushing every day. So that's very important to get that lymphatic system moving. You're not using a lot of energy while you're fasting. You're not going to the gym and running or lifting weights or, you know, doing a lot of jumping jacks or whatever. So anything to get that lymphatic system moving is going to help. And so the dry skin brushing is really important for that, as well as doing castor oil packs. So I have a large castor oil pack flannel in this jar that I keep in the fridge, and I have a smaller one in this jar, and I keep it in the fridge so that oil doesn't go rancid. And I have a large one to lay down for my back, so it gets my entire back. And then I also have the small one to go across my abdomen, so I can do 2 at once. I usually just do 1 at a time because I only have 1 heating pad. So I do have an ebook on how to do castor oil packs. Very, very, very beneficial for moving out stagnant lymph and reducing inflammation. And, you know, if you're having trouble sleeping, these things, for whatever reason, they just knock me out. So sometimes I can have trouble sleeping doing this cleansing if I'm not eating, because there's really nothing that I'm digesting. I'm not moving a lot. So there might just be a lot of extra energy on certain days. And so these castor oil packs can help. Also, there might be days where you sleep most of the day because you're just killing and having so much die off of these parasites, and it's just flooding your system that you just feel completely exhausted, and that's okay too. So if you are not able to take time off of work to do this cleanse, you can eat and do this cleanse. She's got a protocol on her website, the God's Herbs Heal website, where it's a 90-day protocol. She claims that the eggs from the parasites can live in the liver for up to 90 days. I'm not personally concerned about that because I also did a liver flush during those 10 days, and it was my 35th liver flush. I'm not too concerned about parasite eggs in my liver because I do those flushes. I also have an ebook on how to do a 6-day liver flush. I have really dialed this one in to where we're not having the apple juice anymore, way too much sugar. We're just doing malic acid. You can buy it online on Amazon. It's just a powder that you mix in water. There's a couple other tweaks that I made to the protocol. Really, really good cleanse to get into. And that also is going to help the digestive system to remove a lot of pathogens and parasites and candida and things like that, because when the liver and gallbladder is clogged with these stones, then you're not going to have the proper amount of bile flowing through your intestines on a daily basis. And so that's going to cause a lot of stagnation and overgrowth of pathogens and things like that. So liver flushing, very important. Like I said, I have an ebook on that. So you can email me, which I will put in the description box if you're interested in any of the things I've mentioned. If you have any questions, any comments, anything at all that I forgot to mention, said I was going to mention and didn't. I mean, we're at 30 minutes right now, so I want to get this video out there to you guys. Put it in the comments. I will read them. I will respond to you. I will work with you. This is probably one of the most important parts. If you are on an ascension journey, you can meditate all day. You can hold crystals between your toes under a tree all day long for the rest of your life, and it's not going to get you these kinds of results. There are certain things on the spiritual path of ascension and purification that you have got to do physically, that there's no amount of yoga or any other spiritual practice that's going to pull these things out of you, and they definitely are standing in the way of your ascension. I do believe that these foul, grotesque entities, and that is what they are living entities, and they are inside of you, and they control the mind. They control what you feel like eating. They control how you feel. They control what you are guided to eat. They control so much of you're not even aware until they come out of you, and then you will see, and you will be like, wow, that was what I needed, right? And so hold off on the Reiki, hold off on the yoga retreat. Let's focus on something else that you've never done, or maybe you have done a little bit but didn't get quite the results that you wanted, because maybe you didn't have the psyllium husk pudding, or maybe you didn't have even that little bit of fat from the coconut tea just to kind of carry you through those extra days. There's just little things that I feel I've perfected on this journey. I've been doing this, you guys, I think I started in 2013. I did my first liver flush in 2014. And so it's been 10 years that I've been perfecting these protocols, writing these ebooks, really trying to just, expedite this, because I know that we have to work. I'm a single person. I don't have anyone helping me pay my bills. And, I have to go to work just like everybody else. And so if we can figure out a way to expedite these processes, I'm all about it. And I think that, 10 days isn't too bad. If you did want to eat some blended soups or some smoothies or something, you could carry this out to 21 days and just have a little bit slower results, but still get the same results. Okay. So I think that's all I wanted to talk about. This is really exciting for me because I just feel like I'm bringing this whole new, last time I made this video was seven or 8 years ago. And I think all I was using was the distilled pine tree resin. And so this is huge. All these new things that I've incorporated, and I was doing the enemas too, but I wasn't doing the coffee enemas, and I wasn't, I don't even think I was using sea salt, which is to me vastly superior than the lemon. I just really think it's a better solvent. It's a little easier on the body. So yeah, thanks for listening. Like I said, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything at all, put them in the comments, and I will try to link as many things as I can in the description box. All right, thanks you guys. Be blessed and be safe and take care. See you next time.